There we go.
Awesome. Okay, well, hi, Meg. Thank you for on I Don't Care. This is a podcast that really only started because you were like, just start a podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And so literally the next day I went on Google and I was like, how do you start a podcast? And everything was telling me to use RSS. And I was like, okay, whatever, go. And I started it. And then I asked you to be on it and you were very nice and said yes. And here we are. So thank you so much for being so lovely and coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. I have to say, like, it's been incredibly inspiring watching you just like go for it. And it's like, seriously, like I really admire that so much. I wish that I had done, I think I was also, when I was talking to you about it, I feel like I was also a little bit talking to my younger self. And what I wish someone had told me to do. And I was just so impressed that you just like got it up and going, and it's just been incredible. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. So you work at Cherry Picks and you do Cherry Chats, which are Instagram lives that you interview a bunch of actresses and also other people in the industry as well, not just actresses. I love the Cherry Chats. I'm always there, first one sometimes. And they're just so interesting. And even though I don't know everyone that you're interviewing, it's still just like such a fluent conversation where I don't feel like I need to know their projects but by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I want to watch that. I want to watch this. So I love it. But you also have a podcast named CherryPop, and you do more interviews on there, but it's mainly focused on talking about sex in the industry, film, which I love because it's an ever-evolving thing on TV that still is it's so viewed from the men's gaze still today, and something that we need to change and is slowly being changed. So I love the work that you do because it is so woman focused, and that is my heart and soul, being a strong feminist. So I appreciate it so much. But when do the Cherry Chats come out, or when are they live, and when do the Cherry Pops come out?
I know, so many cherries.
Right.
We love the cherry branding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's crazy because the Cherry Chats. So we started the Cherry Chats right at the beginning of COVID because we wanted to sort of keep up the momentum of staying in touch as women or non-identifying cis men in the industry, and to keep sort of supporting each other, because at that time, I mean, you know, for actors specifically or filmmakers, they're just like, the work just stopped. So we wanted to make sure that we kept sort of showcasing and shedding light on all these incredible, you know, women out there. So since then we've done about like 200 Cherry Chats, maybe more. I don't even know. I don't even keep count anymore. But I go live. So they're all live, and I do about, I would say on average, maybe like 4 a week. And then with our podcast, it's a little trickier because we always aim for sponsorship. So we're a little beholden to waiting for that to happen. And then we sort of, what's the word? We kind of like recreate sort of the topics and the talent around the sponsorship. So if we're like being sponsored by a beauty brand, for example, then we're going to seek out talent and topics that sort of is appropriate for that sponsorship. Because, you know, I'm sure like you listen to podcasts and they have ads and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, why? It feels so out of place. So we try to make sure that everything feels authentic and, you know, makes sense. So sort of the podcasts more come to us, and we're hoping for it to become more of a regular thing. And then the Cherry Chapter is just something I think that it's been really cool. Like the industry
Yeah.
kind of just knows about them now. So they'll reach out to us, we'll reach out to people. And it's just like a constant machine that like never ends.
I love It's really great. Yeah, because it really is, you do a lot. Like you do a lot of interviews. And it's really awesome. So speaking on a lot of people coming to you, you going to them, however that process works, you and your coworkers, Katie and Courtney, started the Cherry Chats. Now, when you started it, first of all, how did you guys come up with the idea? Because pretty much all interviews are not on Instagram, they're pre-recorded and then uploaded on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it differently. And also, did you expect the outcome that you have?
Oh, I mean, no, I think that, yeah, I don't know what honestly, it was like so long ago, and I don't know who had the crazy idea to be, I think I just had seen at the time, like Miley Cyrus had an Instagram live show. It's like everyone was sort of going live as a way to keep connecting during COVID. It was like, March 2020, everyone was freaking out, everyone was inside. And I think you had a lot of creators who just wanted to keep creating and didn't want that to just come to a halt. And so I kept seeing like Miley Cyrus go live, like some of my favorite brands go live. And I was like, why can't we go live?
Right.
And our first guest was actually my friend at the time, Danny Pellegrino. He has a really successful podcast called Everything Iconic. It's such a delight. I know, and he's a male, which is so ironic, but he's been someone similarly to what I a lot of the advice I gave to you, he had given to me, because I went to him kind of at the start of sort of becoming a journalist, because he was doing it very successfully at the time, and he was so gracious. And so of course I was like, all right, let's kick this off with someone who's fabulous, who's fun, who like loves pop culture, who I know, we did Groundlings together, which is a improv, like a comedy improv place. Yeah. And so I was like, it'll be fun, like to get, because it's like scary your first time, it's live. But I mean, but it's also like we were building our brand, so it's not like we had like crazy views at the time. But I would also dance in those earlier lives. I had yes, I would ask my guests, and Danny joined me. I would ask them, because again, this was like in the middle of COVID where we were all kind of losing our minds.
Yeah.
We needed to get the energy out. And it was sort of just a place, it started off as like a safe place to just chat, to vent, to uplift, to support, and to have a good time. And then it just sort of like was a snowball. It kept rolling and rolling. And then the more that guests would come to us, we would then get more guests. And it just kind of like snowballed into this beautiful show. And, here we are 2 years later. And I don't know. I mean, I think to your point, we've done so many that, and I truly haven't really like had a break, that I haven't stepped back and reflected that much on like, whoa, we've done so many interviews. I just know that I have a blast doing them. It's my favorite time of the day. It's inspiring to me. It keeps me going. And I love it. I love it. And it's like, I forget it's live. I truly do.
Right.
I really do. And I think that's, over the years, we've had a few guests that were like a little hesitant at the live factor, right? Because like, also for reps, PR reps, they're probably terrified. Like, what if their talent says something like wrong or gets nervous, or, it's not the safest thing. But I've never had, not once, anyone feel uncomfortable.
Knock on wood. Yes.
Knock on wood, because it's like it's like everything disappears.
Yeah, and you can tell when you watch that too that everybody is so invested. You're into the conversation, your guests are into the conversation, and I feel that every guest that you have on from all the interviews that I've watched, that they're enjoying their time just as much as you are, and that they're probably feeling like this is one of the best interviews that they've been in, because they're getting asked questions that aren't the same ones they always get asked. And it's not just I'm an interviewer and you are the celebrity. We're women in the industry talking about the industry.
Exactly. Having a conversation. That's why you're so fantastic at this. I mean, I can already like feel your passion off the screen, because I think too, it's like when we're creatives, like I grew up acting and dancing, and I think that at the end of the day, you said it, it's just like two women having a conversation, like, and what is better?
Nothing is better. Genuinely, there's more women. It's nothing is better. Speaking of women, so at Cherry Picks, we've talked about it, super centered around women, but have you ever worked in the past where you have a job that maybe you have more men as bosses, or just you're associated towards the manly environment, whether compared to Cherry Picks, and like how does that compare? Like how is it working with women?
Oh my gosh, it's so different. Listen, I'm married to a man. I love men. I grew up with two older brothers who are fantastic and very respectful toward women. But there's nothing more magical than working with women. I think that it's just sort of, unfortunately, still such a part of our culture that's so male dominated. And I think I've had more corporate jobs where I've been in rooms, I've been in boardrooms where I was just terrified to speak, or I was like, I was like kind of like twiddling my thumbs under the table, like waiting and, palms sweating, because I'm like, hey, Meg, you got to say something or no one's going to take you seriously, or you have to like interrupt here. And I remember just concentrating so much on how to approach the room or when to say something instead of actually what I was saying. You know what I mean? And it's exhausting, I think. It's really emotionally draining. And again, I don't think it was like I had some great male coworkers. I don't think it was necessarily their fault. I think it was just the environment that we all sort of grew up in.
And I too, men in their nature are so competitive as well. And they want, they don't realize maybe, but that comes off to us, I think, as a little bit intimidating or whatever. And it puts just an expectation on us to be better. And we could have just done nothing. We could be sitting there and we feel this pressure just because we can sense the competition to be the best or whatever. And it can be intimidating for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember too, like being in school, college and high school and even grade school, and that feeling intimidated to raise my hand. And being worried about being taken seriously, or feeling like I had to say exactly the right thing. And that's so much pressure. And I think that at my job, I never think about those things. I'm not like really strategizing how to do something. I just do it, and that's when the work gets done. So I feel it can be so much more efficient when you're not kind of worrying about, worrying.
And talking about getting work done, what is your process when you have a guest? Like, what are the steps that you take to prepare for the interviews, whether it's for the lives or for the podcast?
Oh my gosh, watch.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many journalists don't watch or prep for interviews properly. I think that I personally don't love to watch other interviews because I get in my head. It gives an unrealistic expectation, I think, for that guest. Like I'm making assumptions about maybe the guest that I shouldn't based on other interviews. So I just watch and research. Like just it's a lot of watching. It's a lot of watching. That's why when people ask me, what are you watching? What's good? I just like stare at them for 10 minutes because I'm like, I watch too much.
Yeah, I'm sure you do because I wonder, do you even enjoy TV anymore? Or does it just always feel like a job to you?
It's interesting. I do. I haven't gotten jaded to film and television, thank God. But it is distracting. I have had moments where sometimes when I interview someone, I haven't watched what they're promoting yet. And then I watch it and then, do the research. But then sometimes, I'm already a fan. I'm already like a super fan of their work or the show or, show that they're promoting. And then it's tricky because sometimes when I was interviewing Yasmin Fletcher from Miss Marvel. I love Miss Marvel. So much. I loved it before I interviewed her and I loved it after I interviewed her.
I can tell throughout the interview. Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And my husband and I watched that show together. And I remember he was like, do you want to watch the next episode? And it was like, maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, no, because because when I watch, I jot down everything. I jot down all my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't, it's like, yes, I can enjoy it still, but I would be too tempted. I can't just purely watch it. Yeah. I would be too tempted to write down all my thoughts and, just like, I have like a notebook that looks like a serial killer's, you know what I mean? Not like, so that's the only time that it gets a little tricky. I do sort of have to compartmentalize it. But just for my brain, but yeah, I thank God I still love it. Nothing's gotten like ruined for me yet, but I do like, I do tend to, and I think like all of us do, decompress with something at night that's maybe not like the best of programming.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's CSI or Bones, any of those murder mysteries. I'm like, yes.
I love that. Yeah. Like I never watched, I don't know why. I never watched Friday Night Lights.
Neither have I.
So good.
Is it? I should.
So good. It came out, I think, in 2006. So it's like 2006 to 2012, maybe, or 2013 is the span of the show. And I never watched it. So I'm like watching Friday Night Lights right now. So that's where I'm at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like really, I'm enjoying it very much.
Love
like,
that. Yeah. Yesterday I started to watch Dynasty again because I didn't realize that I left halfway through season 4. And then I watched your interview and I was like, oh, wait, I forgot I was watching that. And so, yeah, I went back and I was like, okay, I love dramas. I love anything that has like a horror kind of vibe to it. And Dynasty isn't, but like some episodes can be. So yeah, I got back on and I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love this show.
That's fun. I do. I love a good drama too. I love a good drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like I'm not a big reality gal. I don't watch a lot of reality TV. So I need my drama. I need my like scripted drama.
Oh, we're in this household, me and my mom, huge reality fans.
I just don't know what's wrong. I just like never got on board. And like, I feel like I have a huge, like, it's bad. It's a huge blind spot, I think, my knowledge.
It's one of those things where you either love it or you don't. And my aunt and my uncle on my mom's side, they really don't like it. And they're like, you guys realize when you watch it, you're rotting your brains. And me and my mom are like, we don't care. We love it. It's so good. Yeah. But even I'm having someone else come on the podcast, and we're going to talk about a reality show, Big Brother. I'm sure you've heard of the competition show. And so, yeah, as I'm watching it, I'm taking notes. I love the show regardless. And I have long conversations with some of my friends about it. But because I'm having someone come on the podcast, I'm like mentally taking all these notes as well. So as you were saying that, I'm like, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's different.
Watching for conversation and then watching it for fun.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different.
I want to talk about something that I'm kind of sad about. So the cancellation of The Wilds, but also they canceled First Kill on Netflix as well. And I watched both of them, and obviously my love goes towards The Wilds. It's in my top 4 of all time favorite shows. But then I was like, they're both very female centered shows. They both focus on, relationships that are in the LGBTQ community, and they bring up topics that in today's society we need to talk about. And so it was really upsetting that, especially with The Wilds, that I won't know what happens in season 3, because the way they left off season 2, but also that we won't get that representation anymore. It's so heartbreaking. And a part of me is like, well, did they cancel it because it's talking about things that maybe they don't want on their, platforms or something? And it was bringing up a bunch of questions to me. And are you sad about, especially The Wilds?
Yeah, I think everything you're saying, that was so beautifully said, because I couldn't agree more. I think that with both of those shows, they were so wildly popular because people saw themselves, and that's so important. And I think The Wilds, so sad, because Cherry Picks was there in the beginning. I feel it's not, I'm sad as a fan, but I think I'm more sad for those gals. And for all of them. They're all so lovely. And I know how much this show meant to them, both personally and professionally. And I think that I'm more heartbroken for them as actors, and at Sarah as a creator.
Oh my God, it's amazing. My dream would be to work with Sarah Stryker for sure.
I think I think that they're all gonna have great careers. I think that this show really opened a lot of doors for all of them. So I'm excited for their future, but it's also, I'm sure that they're, heartbroken right now, and it's frustrating. And I think, I'm telling you, and I know the fans probably agree, but like, bringing in those guys maybe wasn't the best idea.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I watched season 2. I watched the whole show multiple times. And the first time I watched with bringing in the guys, I was like, come on, but we love our girls. But then I watched it again. I watched it again, and I was like, you know what? I like these guys. They're awesome.
They're cute. They're great. They're nice. I just think it was like, I don't know. It's really, there's been a lot of recent articles specifically. So you've got The Wilds, which was on Amazon Prime Video. And it was also, not only was it their first kind of female focused show, but it was their first YA show. And it was obviously a huge hit for them. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell because we're obviously not behind the scenes at Amazon, knowing like, you know, what the viewership was for season 2, but obviously the fans were very dedicated and in love with these characters. And then on the Netflix side with First Kill, which I'm a sucker for any vampire tale. I talk about that all the time on Cherry Chat. So I was like the poster like had me in. But I thought it was incredible. It was like the first, LGBTQ plus, focused vampire series. And again, people felt seen. And there has been, I did read an article recently about sort of Netflix specifically, like canceling a few of their LGBTQ plus shows, like after, or I don't want to misspeak. Yeah, but I think that people are definitely taking notice of the fact that First Kill got canceled the way that it did. It's just so hard to tell because I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm not in those rooms to have those discussions of like why they're canceling. You never know. It's such a complicated industry, but yes, it's like, it feels like a weird coincidence that we have these very, fan-based, like a huge fandom around these programs that are LGBTQ plus, series, with predominantly like female casts. And clearly people want that kind of content. They want to see that kind of content. They're craving that kind of content. So I think it's just a big heartbreak and it's very frustrating, like you mentioned, that these shows got canceled so early on. But it's also like, it kind of feels like with the industry right now, like it's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. I see progress being made. The more that the interviews I do, I know that there's progress being made in terms of like how people are being treated, representation, but we're just not there yet. So it's like such a bummer, but doesn't necessarily surprise me because I feel like studios specifically sometimes don't make the smartest decisions. But hopefully all you can hope is that studios will learn from this and see the disappointment and hear the disappointment, and hear the anger from the fans. I mean, you have the similar thing going on with like the Batgirl movie that, was supposed to come out on HBO Max, and then that got like canned, which has a lot of people outraged. So I think like people are voicing their opinions. That's always the most important thing. And hopefully they're being heard. And I think if we will always be so thankful for a show like The Wilds for opening the door for more shows like it. And hopefully Sarah keeps writing, keeps producing, and we never know what she's going to give us next.
I know she's brilliant. I mean, I also love because I've watched every single interview to do with The Wilds, like all of them. And she said in many interviews too that pretty much all of the characters have some sort of characteristic or past experience that was her own. And so I really loved that. Like the teeth with Shelby, she grew up with like what are they called? Not
retainer? Like a retainer?
Yeah, retainer. Like she grew up with that, so she put that into Shelby, and she just had so many experiences, which I loved because it made it more raw and real.
Personal. I mean, that's what you want, right? That's what and I think that at the end of the day, I'm just so thankful that The Wilds was made. I'm so happy that it was greenlit, right? Like, even though we only got 2 seasons, which sucks, like, don't get me wrong, but what's so cool is I don't think a show like that would have been even considered, X amount of years ago. And the fact that it is so personal and it's so meaningful and that it's LGBTQ plus focused and female fronted, and that you know, Amazon was like, let's make it. Like, it's just, that's really exciting. So
Yeah.
like, I try to hold on to that progress while also obviously being, it's important. It's a balance, right? It's like it's like we need to be outraged, because if you're not outraged, then nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And you know, so, but yeah, I mean, Sarah's amazing. So hopefully, I mean, I know it's not even a hopefully, like she's a,
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I would love for an interview with you and Sarah one day. That would be amazing.
oh my God, I would love that. I would love
even with Amy Harris, the three of you would.
What a dream. What a dream.
What a dream. I want to talk about you kind of growing up, and because we've talked about this briefly in our DMs, but let's talk about it more. So because for me, I thought I knew what I wanted to do in high school. I kind of knew my whole life that acting was what I wanted to do, but you know, my family was never into that idea. So I was like, okay, I will go into skincare and become a medical esthetician. And I was enrolled in school and I was going to do that. And actually it was Lindsay Morgan, who from the 100, who had an interview, and she said, don't have a plan B, because you will fall to that plan B and you won't make plan A happen. And I sat with that for maybe 10 minutes. And then I ran to my bedroom. I looked up acting schools in Vancouver, and I emailed a bunch. And the next day I had interviews with them. And then I had an audition and I got into a school. And that's where I went. I told my mom, I'm like, hey, I know tuition is due. We're not going to pay for it because I'm going to acting school. And I was paying for my schooling anyways. So it wasn't like, well, you can't go because I'm paying, because I was covering that. So anyways, my point is that like throughout high school, you might think that one way your life is going to end up, but it goes a different way. Did you know that acting for you was what you wanted to do in high school?
I did. Well, first of all, I love your journey so much. It's wow. Like the fact that you were paying for your school, how incredible. Like you should be so proud of yourself. Just wow. That's like incredible. Yes, I knew what I wanted to do in high school. I knew what I feel like it's so funny because I was talking to Chandler Kinney from Pretty Little Liars Original Sin yesterday, and the way that she talked about falling in love with storytelling, I was like, oh, that's exactly sort of what happened with me. My earliest memory, like, I don't know, when you're like 3 or 4, was sort of like performing and falling in love with storytelling. And like, I started dancing at a really young age. I did competitive dancing and I loved that, but what I loved most about it was telling a story through my body. And like, I was a very like emo kid. I still am, I feel like a very emo adult, but I was just one of those kids where I just like felt too much, you know. Right. I feel like I carried it all. Like, I always felt very like, it's like that beautiful, that's empathy, right? Like you feel others and you want to like share that. And I felt that at a very young age. And at the same time, I was always a fan. My mom introduced me to like classic movies at a really young age. So I fell in love with like Singing in the Rain when I was like 5. And I was a very weird kid, you know? And so I always knew that I needed to be part of that world.
Yeah.
And of course I started doing, I remember like my first play was when I was in like 1st grade. And I just loved the energy between myself and the audience. And I was like, all right, I want to act. This is what I want to do. So I did a lot of musical theater as a kid. A lot of acting as a kid through community theater, musical theater, and loved it. And then got into NYU for acting. Very similar. Like I did not have a plan B. I remember I went into our, the college, what do you call them?
The orientations?
No, like at my high school, like oh my gosh, what's he called? Like the guy that helps you figure out where you're going to school.
Guy.
Yes, college counselor. Oh my gosh. Woo. Thank you. I went into my college counselor and I always had good grades in school. Like I was always in good classes, but I wasn't like, I'd get like A's and B's. I wasn't like a straight A student, but I would, smart enough.
Yeah, exactly.
He said to me, I said, listen, I'm going to NYU. And he was like, I don't think you can get into NYU.
Oh, wow.
He's like, what are your backup schools? And I was like, I don't have a backup school. So I went and I auditioned for Tisch at NYU. I did early decision and I got in.
Yeah, nice.
Same thing, right? Don't have a plan B. And I felt, and that was a whole other world. Being in sort of like a proper conservatory, acting conservatory was a lot different sort of than kind of playing and doing theater as a kid.
Yeah.
And the training got more intense, but I still loved it. And school led me to get an agent, and this was all in New York City. And that led me to do a few commercials, some music videos, smaller things like that.
Yeah.
Which made me get a little cocky. And I was like, I've done a commercial. I've done a music video. I'm moving to LA to be in the movies.
Yes.
So, I moved to LA. This was about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And things just weren't happening the way that I wanted them to, or as quickly as I wanted them to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is frustrating. And, this is what we were kind of chatting about before in our DMs. It's frustrating because at that point, I felt like I put in a lot of effort. I had acted like my whole life. I had, done community theater. I had just, gone to NYU, graduated from like one of the best acting programs in the US, had done a commercial, had done a music video, had done little things here and there, and wasn't really understanding why things weren't happening for me. And that's when I started doing the groundlings, and I just sort of realized it's not that I have a problem with hearing no. I think that rejection is good. It builds character. It's okay to be failure is, we talk about this all the time on Cherry Chats. Failure is beautiful. You got to embrace it and not be scared of it, and trust your instincts and trust yourself. But I'm so happy that things worked out the way they did, because I just didn't like being told how to look, what to do. Like a manager once told me that I should remove my mole. And it's like, what? Yeah, like why? And I never, luckily, I think I always had a good sense of self. And that's a thanks to my parents and my community and like my friends. And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna like change who I am to fit in, to get a role. All the classic stuff, like you're pretty, but you're not pretty enough to be the like the it girl, but you're like too pretty to be like the like sidekick. I mean, this was like, this feels so archaic now saying those things, right? But that's what I was told. And I was like, screw this. This is why I was like, when I was talking to you, I was talking to my younger self, because I wish I became right at that moment. Now, at that moment, I was like, probably like 20, 23. And, I probably for a year was just like crying and being angry and, not being productive. And I wish that I was more productive during those years, but it did lead me to I made an animated short. You don't ask me why. It just like, I was like, let's try this. I had a story. So I like raised money and I hired an animator, and it like went to a few festivals. And I was like, I tried directing, and I tried doing this, and I tried doing that, which led to like the YouTube videos and, doing sort of, doing sort of like film reviews and doing like movie hosting in that space, which was so new at the time. So I think at the end of the day, long story short, I always knew I wanted to act. I always knew I was always creative from the beginning. But I think that life throws you curveballs, but you got to stick with your guns and listen to your gut, but also not be afraid to be proactive. I think in our field, you have to be proactive. And some of the people that I admire the most are, you know, are women in this industry who, you know, were told no and then pivoted and then blossomed as a director and then went back to acting or produced or just wore many hats. And I think that we're seeing more of that today. We're seeing more of that being, I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't as supported. It felt more like a long shot, but I think now we're seeing an outpour of like support for wearing many hats, and it's really cool to see. And I'm excited for you. Like, you have such a beautiful career ahead of you, and really it's like it's in your hands, which is so exciting, right?
Thank you. It's exciting and it's also terrifying at the same time.
Of course.
I love that it's in my hands, because I always say, like, if I succeed, it's because of me. If I failed, it's also because of me. But at least I tried everything that I could. And so that's my thing, is because I'm like, okay, when I'm in my deathbed, what do I think my biggest regret will be? And I think it's if I don't try. And so I'm like, well, you have a 50-50 chance if you try, but 100% chance of failing if you don't. So
exactly. Exactly. I wish, like, and I'm telling you, I spent a lot of years not having that attitude, and like the fact that that's the attitude you have now, it just like gives me so much hope. And I just know you're going to go so far because you're so driven. And I think that it's just incredible. And I think it's something I really admire. And you've heard me talk about this on Cherry Chat. Like, I really admire about your generation that I feel it wasn't as supported with when I was your age. And I feel like, and it can be overwhelming, I'm sure, because you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I start like a podcast or a YouTube channel, or do I go out for auditions, or do I do this or do that? Or like, it's like, okay, but now, I mean, I feel that way. And like, you know, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, oh my God, should we be just doing something with like Cherry Chat on TikTok? But I'm like, but like, how, you know, it's like, it can be exhausting, but that's kind of the world. And I feel like the more that you're just like block out the noise and just do what feels good for you, and you find your own way and your own way of doing things, because that's like, it's all about authenticity. I mean, you've heard me talk about it a million times, but it's so true. It took me so long. I was trying to be so many different versions of Meg in my life to fit in a box so someone would tell me yes. You know, like dyeing my hair certain colors, like wearing a push-up bra, doing this, doing that, so I would have a better chance. But I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it because I was being told to. And it didn't get me anywhere because I wasn't being my true self.
Yeah. And that's really the core of it, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to be happy. That's kind of like, I feel like everybody's end goal is happiness. And so it's if you do things for other people, then at what point do you get that happiness, and do you find your passion or whatever? So as soon as I was like, okay, I'm doing acting and I'm doing it for me, it became a thing of everybody else. You can tell me what you want to say, but I'm telling you right now, I am ignoring it and I am doing my own thing. And that has caused quite a bit of problems within my family, but I'm like, it's at the end of the day, I'm choosing my career. And so if
that's probably because they love you so much and they're just, you know.
Yeah, it's for sure that, but I do make it clear that you can choose to support me or walk away. And that's like, I think with me, and aware of this, that I know how to set boundaries for myself and for other people. I'm pretty good at it, but I can still be better for sure. But that's something for me that I'm like a pat on my back, and I'm like, okay, good for you, because that's work out in your favor at the end of the day. And it might ruffle some feathers now, but you know, it'll be okay. And so I'm grateful that I know how to do that. Within my family, at least. With strangers and friends, I'm like, oh, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's a start, and that's incredible. Like that type of self-awareness is like invaluable.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, I love this conversation, but I want to go back to movies for 1 second, and or the film industry as a whole, whether it's, you know, watching it or being a part of it. But why do you feel that the industry is so impactful for people? Because it's really, everybody has a TV, and everybody loves and can get into watching TV, movies, reality, whatever it is. Why do you think it's so impactful for people?
Oh my gosh, I know. I mean, I think that for a lot of us, it's the first thing that we're ever exposed to. Because like you said, it's so accessible. You know, if everyone has a TV in their home, it's like, I mean, I see my nieces and nephew who are so little, and they're already looking at content on their iPhone. So already, before they even are aware of it or choosing to do it, they're absorbing you know, film and TV, and it's seeping into their little heads, and it's making impressions. And I think that it's a really powerful thing. And that's why I always say that, you know, all content is important. I mean, and that it's a tool. It's like we have, it's kind of the number one tool, especially in this world where, I mean, I'm an avid reader. I still love like to hold a book, right? Yes. But like, you know, a lot of folks will just, you know, read on their phones or read on their Kindle, or so it's like, it's where we get our information. We're still like, even the screen, whether it's like we're watching a TikTok video or watching a movie, it's like all seeping in there. And I think that that's why it's so important. And, you know, that's why representation is important. That's why inclusivity on screen is important. And because those little baby brains are getting the information before they even know what a TV is or what a movie is. And so I think that it's just so ingrained in our culture. It's like, it's something we can all relate to, no matter where we live, what age we are, like, you know, what our gender expression is. Like, we can all watch movies. And, you know, or TV. I feel like now it's like TV and movies feel like the same thing, because you have all this like informed television, like with the streaming services that feel very cinematic. But it's just, that's why I think content is so important, and like making good content and real content and authentic content, and because it can be a tool, it can be an educational tool.
You're so right. I didn't even think about all the kids and like everything, because it is crazy. Like every kid nowadays, they have their own phone or an iPad or a computer or whatever, and I'm like, I didn't have any of that, but good for you. But they're like TikTok, or I don't even go on TikTok. Like I go on there once a week to post about my podcast, and then I'm gone.
Like I did my job. I did it. It's like,
it's just like overwhelming, and it's crazy on there. But me too, I'm actually in a book club, and with Luisa de Oliveira, who was in the 100, and she promotes like a Kindle kind of thing, and use this little device, and I'm like, no, I need to buy the book, and I need it.
That's how I am. Like, sorry, trees. Like, I feel bad, but there's nothing better than like holding. Like, is there anything better than sort of like feeling your book like halfway through and like to see
Oh,
what you've read, you know?
Yeah, and like checking how much you have left, and when you're done, like closing it and being like, "Oh, you were good," or being done. Glad I'm done with you. Like, yeah, I've got my closet is clothes and books.
I love that. I love that. It's so, I mean, that's like, here, let me ask you a question. Like when you read, do you like see a movie in your head?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. It's all happening in my head, to where sometimes I can even get confused where I'm like, did I watch this or was it a book? Like sometimes, did I dream that or did that happen? It can kind of book. Yeah, I love good books. And again, I really read like horror. That's my genre.
That's fun. What's like the best book you've read lately?
I actually I've been reading everything from this one author. Her name is Elaine Cook. She's from Vancouver, which is cool because I love supporting local people. And I've just been going through all of her stuff because it's so good. So anything by her, I've read. So really, I love all of her stuff. But one of my favorites is called Unraveling Isabel. And it's funny because I was telling my friend about it, because it's got a little bit of, stepbrother, stepsister relationship type situation going on.
Very cruel intentions.
Right? She's like, you're disgusting. And I'm like, no. I promise if you read the book, it makes sense. Like you're gunning for them the whole time because
stepbrother and sister. Come on.
But yeah, I love that book. It was my first book that I read of that author that got me into her. So it's got a place in my heart.
Ooh, I have to check that out. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I have some rapid fire questions, and it's very, very funny because the first question is, what's a book you want to see turned into a movie or TV?
Oh my goodness. That's such a good question.
Right? I think that was my favorite.
That's a good question. I might have to steal that. Okay, I have to give you credit. No, I won't steal it. If I see you on one of my chats, I'll say, this is from Alexia. This is a great question from her.
Yeah.
I love that because I have asked in the past, what's your favorite adaptation? But this is so much better. Oh my gosh. I mean, I do love like a Sally Rooney. I loved Normal People. That's not a movie. I'm sorry. I know it's a TV series, but Conversations with Friends, I think I enjoyed it, but not as much as Normal People. But her latest book, Beautiful People or Beautiful World, Where Are You? Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I'm gonna write down whatever you say.
I just want to make sure. Beautiful World. Yes, Beautiful World, Where Are You? I would like to see, I'm really like rooting for, I want the caliber of Normal People. Like I just loved that show so much. It's one of my favorite shows ever. And I didn't read the book first. And then I have a really hard time if I'd watch something reading the book then.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if I watch the adaptation, I'm not going to then go back and read the book.
Right.
But so since I saw Normal People first, I never actually read the book. But then, so this is the first time I read a Sally Rooney before there's any sort of adaptation. So I would love to see then what they can do with Beautiful World, Where Are You? And I actually think that it would make a better movie than series.
Okay.
So she just writes really interesting female characters. There's also a great book that I really loved. See, this is what's wrong with me. Too much reading, too much watching, and I forget.
I forget just because I forget. Not even, there's no excuse. I just forget things.
I have to write everything down. And it's so funny because my little library is in the other room. I have like my books up. Nice Girl. Was it like Nice Girl? A Nice Girl book. What's it called? A Very Nice Girl.
Okay.
Okay. That's I loved that book so much. And I think that would make a fantastic movie. Again, really sort of like flawed female characters that are very relatable, and really well written, by Imogen Crimp is the author's name. A Very Nice Girl. So those would be my two picks for that. I did just buy, speaking of horror, I did just order Bones and All.
Okay.
Which is, I don't know if you saw the trailer, the Timothy Chalamet.
No, I have not.
Okay, so they made the movie already, but it's not coming out until October. So we've got time to read the book. It's with Taylor Russell and Timothy Chalamet. And I think you'd like it because I believe it's a YA sort of like horror romance. And like, let me just say, there's like some cannibalism, I guess.
Love,
right?
Well, we don't support, but we love.
But guys, this is called like the imagination, right? And it's like a big world out there, and no, we do not support. However, and it's interesting because it's female cannibalism. Because I guess the premise of it, I was like, this is interesting, is that the main girl. So we meet her when she's like kicked out of the house by her mother. I believe she's like 17, and she kind of goes on a road trip to find her birth father. And I guess like when she was 2, she like bit a baby's ear. Like this is like something that's ingrained in her that she's very ashamed of. So it's not really so it's like, I think it really not as much of a choice for her. Again, this is a fantasy. This is a world where it has its own rules. We know that this isn't real life, but I think it's not it's not like, it's not a character who's like, oh, like Hannibal Lecter. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this, like, obviously it's an allegory for, the parts of us that we're ashamed of, which I think is very relatable, especially with women. And I think it's this idea of like, can you find love when you feel like you're not a good person, or you feel like you have these shameful parts about you? I think sounds fantastic. So
I wrote that down. I'm gonna check it out.
And I'm gonna read that. So maybe then we can like talk after about the book.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, sorry. That wasn't very rapid fire of me. I really apologize.
That's okay. We can be more rapid. Are you okay?
Okay, let me be rapid fire. Okay.
You're okay to go over time?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So the next one is, which Cherry Chat made you the most nervous to film?
Oh, I think maybe when I May Calamaui, because from Moon Knight, because I love her so much. I was such a big fan of the series. So and it was my first MCU interview.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I think I was just like I was just a lot of just nerves of like, don't screw this up.
Right. Yeah. I feel that. Okay. Which interview made you feel the most rewarded?
These are really good questions. You're so good at this.
It's genuinely just like things that I honestly wonder. I'm like, okay, let me write that down. Because sometimes we don't ask the questions we genuinely want to know the answers to.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Damn, what most rewarding? Maybe also, I'm just gonna go with, maybe this is a cop-out, but also May's interview, because I was so nervous about it, and because I think it was one of my favorite interviews also, and it was so rewarding because it was such a conversation. Right. And into it with so many nerves, worried that I was going to kind of screw it up, because I knew that a lot of people would tune in because it's MCU. These are beloved characters. And it was such a it just like exceeded my expectations, and it was like so rewarding. That was just like a really beautiful moment for me.
Aw, I love that. Okay, this one is also one of my favorite questions is, what's an interview question that you never dare to ask, but really want to know the answer to? Because
That's a really good question.
right, and I was like, I wonder.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I know. I mean, like, listen, and you know this, you watch my chats. I try never to pry into the personal.
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's a low ball thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe at the end of the day, I consider myself a kind journalist. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not a ruthless journalist. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, I think that it's not necessarily, it's more of a question that would be specific to the guest. If
Right.
I knew that it's more like, it would be more like taking it to, if we were just alone in a room and I could tell that we were going well, I might be like, so like a lot of it too is just being curious of like, if I know that there was a story where there was like abuse or, you know, something, what's the word? Like something that happened that went down on a set or with,
Yeah.
like if I was interviewing someone that I knew had a really bad experience filming X movie or working with X coworker, it wouldn't necessarily be like I would just more want to have a conversation of like, how are you doing? Like, I think it's more just that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line of like reading the room. And sometimes it goes there. Like I remember I was interviewing Charisma Carpenter. Do you know who that is from?
I don't.
It's like, it's okay. She was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Oh, okay.
the original.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then she was in the spin-off show Angel. This is all when I was like your age or maybe younger. I was like younger than you at this point. This was all like, you know, early on when CW was like WB and like, you know, all of those early shows, but she was a big, like, you know, big star during that time and did a lot of those like kind of high school, like kind of like YA focused shows. And when we were chatting, I didn't like ask a personal question, but it led to her sort of talking about, you know, not so great experiences that she had in her youth, sort of on set. She wasn't too specific, but she was definitely kind of having a moment of feeling safe and talking about like how shitty it was for her back in the day. And then like a couple of days after that, it was everywhere on the press about how Joss Whedon, who created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he went on to, you know, went on to direct like the first Avengers movie and like, that she suffered like abuse by him, like verbal abuse on Buffy, and that he was like really discriminatory, especially toward, you know, a lot of the women on set. And I was like, oh my God, that's what she was referring to. But I didn't pry because I don't like to pry, right? I don't want to, I just want my guests to tell me as much as they feel comfortable telling me. But in certain circumstances, it's like, I wish I could just keep just more. Yeah, just because it's like, I almost want to like be there for them. Like it's hard not to dig deeper in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense for me in my brain. When I ran that question, I was like, I just want to know how much everyone's getting paid. You make, I want to know. I would never ask.
Google that. You could probably Google that.
Probably, yeah. I would never ask, but I just.
Oh, I know. You're like, so, yeah, like it's true.
It's just like, and I told my friend that, and she's like, no, 100%, you're right. I would want to know that too. And I'm like, right? Right? I know. A character that you always wish you could play, because I know sometimes I watch TV and I'm like, oh, I would die to play that character.
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, I truly love all genres. So I think a part of me would love to be like I would have, like, as a kid, I wanted to be like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, speaking of vampires, I always wanted to do an action like sequence. I just want to be like badass, you know, be a spy or be like, I feel like that's so unassuming. People meet me, they don't go there. They're not like Meg,
Mhm.
spy. We're like
Yeah.
Meg, action star, you know, but that is what I would love that. Or like in a Western or, you know,
Ooh.
I'm just like, I'm just a badass, like
Yeah.
kicking
Um, in college, we were asked this question, and me too. I was like, I want to be a badass. I was like, I want to be a bad bitch. That's what I said. And I know everyone's looking at me. They're like, you are 5 feet tall. You look 5 years old. I'm like, and what about it? I can still play.
so cool. It's like there's so many different types of like, you know, I mean, what is the word hero even mean? Or like, what does like, you know, these characters don't have to be defined by just one thing, you know, we can be out there doing espionage and like, like doing assassinations and like kicking butt. Like, who says we can't?
Yeah, exactly. What is your biggest turn off that movies or shows do?
Ooh, I think it have to be, honestly, and this is like why we started the podcast, CherryPop. I think that it's it's such a turn off, but it's also so problematic.
Yeah.
That when sex or anything to do with sort of intimacy is
Mhm.
shot through the male gaze.
Yeah.
It's so problematic. Yeah, that just like really upsets me. And I think that because I'm also a huge romance
Mhm.
fan. I love a good sex scene. I think it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I love a good sex scene. And I think that there's a way to satisfy everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I grew up kind of, I was one of those kids who I was allowed to watch whatever growing up, with my parents or whatever. So with my grandma, she introduced me to the Halloween movies. And so I grew up,
Wow.
so at a young age, I grew up watching Halloween, Scream, all of those like horror classics. And then at home, I would watch with my mom and dad like American Pie, the Van Wilders, and all of that. And so that's how I grew up viewing sex, really, was such in the male gaze. Like nobody is watching American Pie and being like, that's how girls like it, right?
No.
And so I was actually watching it again last week because I got COVID.
Oh,
And
sorry.
oh, it's okay. I was teaching kids acting and they gave me COVID. But yeah, American Pie was on and I was rewatching it and I was like, oh boy, like what? No, that's not how it is. So
Yeah.
I understand the frustration there where it's like we need to redo all of this and
Redo. Let's call for a redo. Yes.
yeah, exactly. What's your and your husband's go-to date night watch?
Ooh. I think it depends on like right now, we both are really into For All Mankind on
Okay.
Apple TV Plus, which is like, I have to give a shout out to that show because I was hesitant to watch it because my husband loves, he loves tech. He's like a robot. He loves space. And so I immediately kind of judged it thinking it was going to be sort of this like very male dominated, like,
Okay.
space, like astronaut NASA TV show. It's extremely feminist. There's so many incredible female characters. And it's like secretly one of the most feminist shows on television. Like
Oh yeah.
it's yeah, it's fabulous. So it's like a show that we both love so much. So that's like, that would be like tonight. It comes out, I think it came out last night at, like, 9 p.m. or whatever, midnight, whatever. But that's like a typical like Thursday, Friday night date night, like put on For All Mankind, have some popcorn and just, both genuinely love what we're watching.
Oh, I love that. I love when shows do that, where, it's never judge a book by its cover, right? Which
Yes.
or to do or to not do. Okay, so we're gonna play a game called Two Truths and a Lie, but about people that you've interviewed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I think they're pretty easy, but we'll find out.
Okay.
So Mia Healy, The Wilds.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, Mia flew to LA for her Shelby callback. Number two, before booking The Wilds, Mia was in a movie called The Changeover.
Okay.
Number three, Mia put her rings on after a day of filming to get grounded and back into Mia, the person.
Wow.
One of those is a lie.
I want to say that the ring is not a lie.
Okay. You have to guess lie, and I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Oh, it's been such a minute since I looked at her IMDb page, so I don't know. Would they have had auditions in LA? I'm gonna go with the first one's a lie.
Okay, that's actually the truth. She flew from Australia to LA for her callback. Okay. She wasn't in a movie called The Changeover. That was edited James.
I was gonna go with number two, but I went with number one because I felt like it was kind of a trick question. And I was like, yeah, everyone flies to LA, so okay. But I love the thing about the rings. I think that's, I love to hear those little.
Nuances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Sarah Catherine Hook, first kill.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Sarah stars in a SodaStream commercial. Number two, she's 27 years old. And number three, Juliet was not her first queer character that she played.
Whoa, these are some deep cuts. These are good.
Are they? I thought it was really hard to find these facts.
These are very good. She's in a SodaStream commercial. She, this isn't her first queer character she's played, and she's 27. I don't think she's 27.
Okay. Is that the lie that you're saying?
I think that's the lie.
She is 27.
Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this.
Juliet was her first queer character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have the SodaStream commercial. I'm not
right.
good at this, am I?
But okay, Yasmin Fletcher, who we talked about earlier.
Love her.
Right. Okay, she's originally from Las Vegas. 2, she thought that she would be a singer, not an actress growing up. And 3, Yasmin loves to snowboard.
These are all fantastic facts. I hope number 3 is true, because that's really rad. Grew up. Gosh, see, these are the details that I don't
look into.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't think it's interesting. Well, that's interesting. I sometimes don't. Yeah, I can't. Sometimes I feel like I usually always research where they're from in case someone's from where I'm from, and then it's a nice little icebreaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I can't remember where she's from at the moment. And it makes sense. I'm going to go with the number one's the lie.
Okay, you're right. Number 1 is the lie. She's from Orange County. Not from Las Vegas.
I think I actually remember that. I think I remember that she's from California.
That's
from close by.
Yeah. Okay. Alana Ubach, Euphoria.
Love.
Also Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
Number 1, she was originally supposed to audition for Rue's mom. Number 2, she's done voiceover work for the video game Grand Theft Auto. And number 3, Alana is not set to be in Legally Blonde 3, which anyways is canceled.
No, that's a lie.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, easy. That's a lie. But I thought it was interesting that she was supposed to audition for Rue's mom, which is Zendaya's mom.
Yeah.
And then
thing.
Right? She found out that Zendaya was going to play Rue, and she's like, I don't think I'm fit to be that character. But
that would have been such a different vibe. I mean, I cannot she is so good at, I mean, it's so good. It's like, especially in season 2, like give that woman an award. Like her in the play was incredible.
So good. I loved it. Okay. The next one is Elaine Hendricks, who you just interviewed.
Okay. So this is a little more fresh.
A little bit, yeah. Elaine was not the first actor to play Alexis Carrington.
That's
Number
true.
2, she would not wear any clothes in real life that Alexis wears. And number 3, she almost didn't take the role as Alexis because it was too similar to Meredith Blake, her Parent Trap character.
I think that's so, okay. So this is literally like off my, okay. So I know that number 1 is true. Number 2, we did talk about clothes in the interview, and she did say that she wouldn't, I can't remember if she was like, I think number 3 is the lie.
Okay. I want to say I wrote this one as I was watching your interview as well. So that's why it's similar. Number 3 is the lie. Yeah.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good now. I feel my confidence has come back from those, you know.
Right. The next one is Brenda Song.
Love her.
We love Brenda. I grew up with her, watched from Sweet Life on Deck and Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Number 1, Brenda started acting and modeling at 5 years old. Number 2, she originally auditioned for Maddie in The Sweet Life and not London Tipton. Number 3, she wasn't allowed to audition for Crazy Rich Asians.
Ooh. I feel like number 3 isn't, I feel like, wait, what's the first? The first one is she acted and modeled at 5. The second one is that she originally auditioned for not her character on Sweet Life. And she wasn't allowed to audition. I feel like that's too specific to be a lie. Last one. I don't know when she started. I'm gonna go with 2 is the lie. Number 1 is the lie. Like, you know what? I feel like it could have been either or that one.
Also, it's like hard because you don't know the ages. Like,
why wasn't she allowed to audition for Crazy Rich Asians?
They viewed her to not be Asian enough.
Rude.
Right? She was really upset about that.
Brenda.
Right? I feel awful. Cynthia Bailey, who was a housewife, is now doing the acting thing.
Those are for me when I have to watch those. See, I have to really do research for those.
Right? Yeah.
I don't want, like, you know, but yeah, Cynthia Bailey, who now makes delicious cocktails, which I served in a bridal shower.
Oh, nice. Love that. In a movie called Cruel Instruction that actually one of my teachers was in as well.
Nice.
So number 1, she created a modeling and fashion school. Number 2, her favorite topic in school was math. And number 3, she is a self-proclaimed potato salad queen.
Wow.
Quite random, right?
Yeah, I feel like that has to be true. And I love potato salad. Started what was the middle one again? Second one?
That her favorite topic in school was math.
I'm gonna go with 1's the lie.
Number 2's the lie.
I got that
was math.
Because I feel like that was too specific too. Like, you're very good at making these things up. Because I was like, where would she come up with that then? Like,
reading, I would just Google their names and then facts, and I would take a fact and then just twist it into the lie. Because otherwise I'm like, how do I create lies for people I don't know, right?
Yeah, no, I was like, that feels very specific. So, wow, okay.
The next one is Jeannie Mai. who I know her from The Real.
Yep.
But she also did a project about human trafficking, which I didn't watch, but I watched that interview, and as I was watching it, kind of was getting angry just by the statistics that she was saying. I recommend people watch that one because it is an eye-opening interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So she is a germaphobe. She was the first Vietnamese American to co-host a talk show. And she always knew that she wanted to be a mother.
Oh, I'm going to go with 3 is the lie.
She never wanted kids. And now she has a daughter, I believe.
Yes. Wow. That's why, that's why too. It's like, I love that fact because, you know, we change, we evolve, you know, just because we feel one way. I mean, you can obviously be strong in your convictions and sometimes they run through and they stay true, but sometimes we don't know, you know, see what happens.
Exactly. Okay, so let's switch gears quickly now to focusing on feminism here. So growing up, who were the women that you looked up to?
Oh my gosh, so many. It's so funny because growing up, like when I was little, there weren't as many like female filmmakers, or I didn't actually even know like one female director when I was growing up, which was such a bummer. But yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, I always loved Meryl Streep growing up. I think that she's someone who's obviously been around for a while, but she's always chosen such great work. She's always had such a wonderful sense of self, I think on and off camera. And she's someone I also always admired, that she, you know, wasn't necessarily like conventionally like hot. She's beautiful and gorgeous. Just like I've always just admired. Same with Diane Keaton. I think like Diane Keaton also was like a big influence. Just women that sort of were confident and talented as hell. And again, like was such a fan of their work. And yeah, it's crazy. Like when I was little, and then obviously as I got older, like I loved like Catherine Bigelow, like Hurt Locker was like one of my favorite films. And I like watching her win the, you know, she didn't win for directing. She wasn't nominated, right? Or something crazy happened, but seeing that film win Best Picture, and that was a big sort of like eye-opening experience for me. But yeah, and then obviously like, I mean, I love like Viola Davis, like watching her career. Yeah, but when I was little, I would say like Diane and Meryl they're just the OGs, like.
Yeah, no kidding. For me, growing up, it would be the Disney stars like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, like of my time. But instead for me, my dad was very much into female singers.
Oh, yeah.
So I grew up listening to Kelly Clarkson, Lady Gaga, Shania Twain, Black Eyed Peas, Fergie. So that's what I really grew up with. Madonna. I remember never remembering Madonna's name and being like, Dad, I want to listen to that girl. She has red hair. Like, you know, talking about like God or something. And he's like a prayer. And I'm like, yes, that one.
That's cute. Oh yeah. I loved Madonna. I loved Madonna growing up. And I also was like, really like taken aback and excited by her boldness and her like, you know, how just she was just herself, unapologetically herself, always. And that was like very exciting.
Yeah, I love that. So Cherry Picks as a company is, like we've talked about, very female focused. why was that a decision that was made? Because it's so easy to talk about pop culture as a whole, but you guys do really focus on talking about equality, and not, you never ever shame men or bring men down, because that's not what equality is. So why do you think that it's important for Cherry Picks and for your work to be so female focused?
Yeah, I think it was like our founders, Miranda Bailey and Rebecca Oates, kind of, you know, just saw that there wasn't really a space like Cherry Picks, and because a big part of also the company is that we have the Cherry Score, so we're kind of akin to Rotten Tomatoes in that way, where we, you know, we collect reviews from female and non-binary critics. And because at the time when the company was founded, there was a big, like, it was a really big problem that wasn't really being addressed, that specifically women of color weren't getting the same access to premieres or to screeners or to festivals as much as their sort of like white male colleagues. And so the company was really founded on this like idea that there should be equality amongst sort of the critical community. And I think that sort of, you know, from that start, we sort of then started examining sort of the same essence of that, but in every different sort of facet of the entertainment industry.
That's so awesome, because really, other than Cherry Picks, there's like nobody who does what you guys do, and that's awesome to be that for people, young women, girls like me, and older women, for everyone. So it's really, and for men as well who want to, it's for everyone, and I love that so much. So talk about something that is very, very important in the world, I like to say, mainly America, but I think in Canada it's just as important to talk about, which is that the Supreme Court overturned the Roe versus Wade abortion law, which isn't about anything really other than taking a choice away from females towards their own bodies, their own human being, which would never ever be a thing that, you know, would be towards men. There would never be anything where a man can't have his own rights to his body. And so I wanted to talk to you about this because, you know, talking about taking 3 steps forward and 5 steps back, this decision is that it's a step back, not just a step back, but a step in the wrong direction for the future. And it's scary as even a Canadian who it doesn't affect me, but I always say it's our world and it's our planet that we share. And so it doesn't matter that I'm your neighboring country, because my country listens to yours, right? And we do the same things. So I just wanted to talk about it because it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so devastating and frustrating and unfair. And it's just that was a really dark day, you know, here in the States, when we all officially found out that, you know, Roe v. Wade was overturned. It was just so shocking, even though I think we all sort of unfortunately like kind of knew it was coming. It was still such a shock. And I completely understand, like, you know, I'm in California. California is very liberal. Like, if I needed to get an abortion tomorrow, it would not be a problem here. You know, I recently went through some reproductive health issues that I was extremely, even though painful and traumatic, I was extremely grateful that like I live where I live. And so I understand how you feel in that sense, because even though I'm in the US, California is like, you know, but I feel the same way, where it's like, to know that these choices, or if, you know, if I went to, you know, I have a wedding to go to in Missouri in September, And it's like heartbreaking to think that I'll step foot. I mean, I'm, obviously very excited to attend the wedding. It's a
Yes.
family wedding, but like, it's heartbreaking and shocking and surreal
Mhm.
to feel like there'll be women around me or people with vaginas, because not everyone identifies
Right.
as a woman who has a vagina,
Yeah.
but that won't have those rights. And it's like, it's heartbreaking. It's truly
Yeah.
like, it's truly heartbreaking. And I think that what we have to keep doing is just keep fighting. And I think, like, to the point, even though you're in Canada, and folks that are in Canada or wherever you are, or if you're in a state where those rights are not taken away from you, that doesn't mean we sit back and we don't do anything. We keep
Yeah.
fighting, we keep spreading the word. And you got to just vote. That's why voting is so important. And like, I mean, we saw that in Kansas recently. The voters do not always reflect who's in, doesn't reflect the government of that state, because we saw that the people of Kansas, the sweet, sweet, wonderful people of Kansas were like, no, this.
Yeah.
So we see the power of the vote. And so I think it's just, we're angry, we're upset, but now it's like time to take that, like anything in life, you can mourn, and you can, grieve and be angry, but then you got to get your butt up and, put those feelings to action.
Yes, absolutely. And we post about it on social media, and we talk about it as much as we can. And we do, I mean, I don't have a big platform yet, but I do everything that I can now.
Yeah.
Because really the most important thing is to talk about it and to spread awareness, because that's what we can do. We can't single-handedly change the votes, but we can talk about it and have conversations and educate people on why this decision is so harmful. Because it's not, people are sometimes they see it as one way, and it's way more than what certain people might think that this decision is. And even in here, Canada, we recently had this one weird law be made that it's, if someone is too intoxicated, whether it's alcohol or drugs, to have full control over their body, that they will not be charged harshly or possibly even at all if they rape someone or kill someone. So I mean, we're screwed up over here too. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I know it's always like the default thing to be like, well, we'll just move to Canada because, but everyone, there is no perfect, I think it's like, there's no perfect place, but we do our best to try to make our homes and our country as perfect as we can. It's like and we just fight for what we believe in, and we like spread the word. And there's so many different ways to, like, activism is this like beautiful thing that can be, can have many shapes and forms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know I kept you much longer than an hour.
It's okay. It was a delight. It was lovely.
Thank you. I was wondering if there are any plans for Cherry Chats to extend and expand out of Instagram, or are we staying there?
We hope. I think that's the goal. That is the goal always. We always want to expand. So keep your fingers crossed. Keep your fingers crossed. Put out the good vibes. That's always the goal. The goal, we're always trying to grow and expand. So hopefully,
hopefully I will put it out in the universe for you. So what's the Instagram handle? Where can people find you and Cherry Chat?
Oh my gosh, so many places. So for all, for Cherry Picks, we're at the Cherry Picks everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And then my personal handle is, I'm at Meg. Oh my God, what's my handle?
Is it not just Meg McCarthy?
No.
No?
You ever forget your handle? I just
No,
forgot.
because mine's just a left hand.
Joe McCarthy.
There you go. There you go.
That's so funny that I forgot my handle. I think it's like when you like forget your phone number or like how old you are. Okay, let's start that over. It's at Meg Joe McCarthy. So that's MEGJOMCCARTHY, because Meg McCarthy is the most common name in the universe.
Really?
Oh my God. And when I go to a pharmacy, like there's 3 of us. When I go to a doctor, there's so many, I think just specifically in my age bracket. So Meg McCarthy was taken, but Joe Henning is my married name.
There you go.
So I put the Joe in there. I
love that. It's so cute. It's so funny because I was telling my friend that Meg McCarthy was coming on and she goes, oh, I feel so bad. Her name's Meg McCarthy, like the Meg McCarthy. And I'm like, who's Meg McCarthy? And I'm like, you mean Melissa McCarthy? And she's like, yes, Melissa McCarthy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so funny.
There's so many, like, there's so many McCarthy's, like, it's just like, it's so common.
I love saying it though, McCarthy, like something about it is, I love
saying it. Good. Yeah, it's a good ring to it. I dig it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Meg McCarthy, for coming on. I had so much fun. And I hope you enjoyed your time here.
Are you kidding me? I had a blast. You're so wonderful at this. You are so good at it. Do not keep it up. Keep it up. Truly, like you're like joy for film and television, and you know, feminism and female, everything is contagious, and you're so good and you're intuitive, and just keep it up.
Thank you. It was intimidating because this is your profession. This is your job. And you are amazing at it. So I was like,
oh, I'm like, this is my day off. Like, I am like, I get to like just sit back and like, you're so wonderful that this was like a piece of cake.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this on your day off. That's
no problem. Well, much love. I'm going to stop recording.